Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of jakestake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. Now, before we get started with our conversation and I introduce our guest today, if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. If you're listening to on our audio platforms, please give us a 5-star rating and please subscribe for me. I am very excited because this is Jake's Take's first international interview of 2022. My guest to my right is the founder of the Sinclair Media Group. He is disrupting the current music industry, and he has had success with a certain energy. Boy Nash and Michelle Young. I'm sorry if I butcher your name wrong, Michelle, but however, please help me welcome the fabulous David Sinclair-Black.
Thank you, Jacob, really appreciate it. And yeah, as I was mentioning before, thank you for all of the work that you do and taking the time out of your day today.
You're so welcome. So, David, when did you get interested in music, and how did that passion evolve into desire to pursue a career in the recording industry?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, I guess a lot of your audience will be avid, passionate musicians themselves, or maybe they're coming to your website to find some upcoming artists that they trust your word and they want to get some good insight on that. I guess in as much as where your audience might find value is that I started in the music industry as a producer in 2016. And, for me, I got into selling my beats, my instrumentals, the backing beats online. And I grew this brand called DSB Beats. And DSB Beats is a brand produced for multi-platinum artists like Ayo and Teo, Lexi Pantera, SD, a multiplicity now of record labels as well, like Interscope Records and Republic Records. And I worked with and consulted and have done in my entirety, and really where my forte is with hundreds, probably 100 plus, 200 plus independent artists around the globe as well. So really my work as a producer and now having opened Sinclair Media Group a few years ago has been with helping the upcoming average independent artists create great music, like some of the many that you have on the shows here. And of course the established artists as well, give them a great sound and then ultimately help them build a good fan base as well that really resonates with their message and supports that artist.
That's incredible. And as you began your career in the recording industry, what were some of the things that you noticed regarding that could potentially discourage musicians pursuing a career in this competitive field?
Yeah, for sure. So I briefly mentioned Sinclair Media Group, and you briefly mentioned it at the beginning as well. So it's the company that I run now. It's set up in 2019. And it originally started helping musicians produce records and then market those records. So Casey Yale, who you've had on this show before, which is really weird that how this podcast with you and I has been timed, because 2 weeks ago, the track that we made last day, which you interviewed him on, was featured and was taken up for sync licensing on American Eagle, the clothing company, some of their social media content. So it's really weird how these things are mixed together. But Sinclair Media Group, Casey was one of those artists in the early days where he came on and we produced the record together. We got it out there. It got the exposure. And, as a result of that, the record went on to do some great things and, sync placements, etc. And just to give you a little bit of background story, Sinclair Media Group was after DSB Beats. I took a bit of a hiatus from the music industry. I probably quit the music industry and re-entered it 3 to 4 times. And Sinclair Media Group for me was one of those first times that I re-entered it refreshed with a new perspective. And to answer your question on getting into it and, the disruptions and, kind of some of the problems that I see with artists, it started off being, well, these artists need great records and a place to market them. But the more that I spoke with these artists, obviously the biggest issue for them isn't production. Everybody has a great sound. You can just scroll through TikTok and find some great new music today. But it's very rare to come across people that have, yes, a fan base, but ultimately A, that's large enough to sustain them, and B, like an actual fan base, people that will show up to your shows, that will buy your merchandise, that will DM you on Instagram. And fast forward a couple of years since this company opened, we're kind of what I would regard to be an underdog and at the very forefront of the industry and helping those artists market themselves with, the best of revolutionary techniques, with the freshest techniques. And yeah, that's kind of where we stand so far. I guess just to, give you a quick bullet point answer. Biggest problem is, of course, fan base, and the quicker and the faster that you can go ahead and building that, the better off you'll be, the bigger momentum that you'll have, and ultimately the bigger success you'll have for sure.
I totally agree. And now it's amazing to hear about all this and how this is turning into a full circle moment.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, are you referring to like the Casey Yale stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, no, for sure. It is weird. And what can we say? Like, I think you're a great example of somebody that is out there in the forefront, helping support artists within the community. We need more people that are doing that. I think a good example of what you provide as well is good relationships with those. I guess to be more specific, because of course you'd have a good relationship with them, but you're opening up with good questions that gets the listener of this show interested, and kind of gives a little bit of an insight. And the more that listener has a relationship with that fan and with you as the presenter, you're creating content here which goes deeper than just the record, and ultimately for the artist is a huge benefit. So yeah, it's definitely full circle. And yeah, so it's always good to see how these things pop up over time, for sure.
It's amazing. And what I gotta say, David, is the way that you went from your beats to now Sinclair Media Group is just incredible.
Thank you.
I find it very inspiring.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate that. Thank you, Jacob.
All right. So what have been some, as we know, as you mentioned earlier, besides the fan base, what are some of the other challenges that you faced launching Sinclair Media Group and making it stand out against your peers? And how did you overcome those obstacles?
Yeah, for sure. I guess just to give a quick introduction to exactly what Sinclair Media Group is to your audience, what we do is help musicians start and build profitable music businesses. An artist has a music business, a producer has a music business, a mix engineer has a music business. You, Jacob, have maybe it's not it will be a publishing business. And often what I found is that creatives have this huge kind of distaste of the word business and money and economics. And yet, quite ironically, what is always most painful for humans is the thing that they need to face, is most helpful for them, and that they need to face towards and have the courage to face. And we help people build those music businesses. We've had multiple success stories, and what our aim to do is to help an artist at least generate about $2,000 a month. In our eyes, that being the minimum requirement for them to be full time. It's our mission that in the next 10 years that we can help 2 million of these artists become full time. And what, from our projections, that would do is contribute £48 billion to the world economy each year, and also make the music industry one of the world's top 10 industries. The music industry is by far one of the smallest industries in the moment. It's about 10 billion USD a year, whereas something like supermarkets just in the UK alone will be 207 billion USD. It's a tiny industry. It's corrupt. And that's really comes as a result of the majority of the people that are in this industry are struggling and frankly, not succeeding at all. So Sinclair Media Group is to help those people build those music businesses. And remind me of your question again. I digress. Remind me of your question.
Oh, no problem. So David, what have been some of the challenges that you faced launching Sinclair Media Group and standing out against your peers?
Yeah, no, damn. Good question. I think, well, now that you guys definitely know what Sinclair Media Group is, I think a lack of structure. 90% of startup businesses fail. And to just still be open, statistically speaking, is a blessing, right? There are plenty of times that businesses have gone bankrupt because of cash reasons. That's the number one reason, because of competitive advantage. So, somebody else comes along and takes over your market share. And the other reason, just being bad management, kind of running the thing into the ground. And I think for me, to be quite frank and quite transparent, there have been many times when I thought, okay, this thing isn't working cash-wise, management-wise. I've, kind of grown so much by being forced into a situation that's so uncomfortable. And And competition wise, we haven't really had much of an issue with. I think for me, Jacob, the number one thing is structure, and structure comes from a knowledge and understanding of how to make something work. If you're a doctor, you go to university for 7 years, and, the universities are basing their teachings off of hundreds of years, and probably even thousands, some really, really old stuff where some of their stuff, kind of founds from. I didn't have that. I still don't have it. And I've had to go out there and bring on business coaches. I've had to go out there and phone people for advice, because when you're running and starting your own business, and this applies the same for musicians and anybody doing their own thing, is that you don't have that manager that you can look up to and ask the questions and they can give you that pat on the back. You don't have that. I think other challenges kind of relating to that are a support network. I've always been very kind of to myself. I would regard myself as an extrovert. I definitely get my energy off of people. But the way that my life was set up is that I always preferred my own space as well. And I never really reached out to people, which is ironic given that you have to reach out to people to run a business, right? So I guess having a support network as well that can just give you that pat on the back and the support that's needed. I think there are still many challenges to come in the position that we're at the moment. Like, we're still experimenting, we're still seeing what works best, and we're very transparent with our musicians that sometimes we're going to do things that don't work for you, and we'll let you know when that happens, and we'll fix it next time. So it's a lack of structure, a lack of a playbook. But the crazy thing is that when you start something new, when you stand out against the crowd, when you're not following, the mainstream way of doing things, and when you have something that's truly, truly special and that works, you can create that playbook. You can create the workbook for other people to follow. You can be an industry leader. That's why Apple was successful. That's why Amazon was successful and is successful. Virgin Media, some of the biggest companies on the planet started with something that, and every single person told them. Henry Ford, I think it was the guy that started Mercedes. People thought he was nuts that you didn't get on a horse and a carriage and that you could sit in a piece of metal and it. They laughed at him. So it's quite special. It's very scary. Those are just a few reasons for sure. I could go on for hours, but yeah. For every 9 challenges that we have, the one success carries us through for sure.
Absolutely. So what are some of the factors that you and your group look into for musicians, producers, and songwriters before you take them on as clients?
Yeah, it's a great question. And what I'm about to say comes from a deep place of frustration. You and I sit within a universe of, great musical talent. To be more specific, we sit within a great universe of people that make music. What percentage of those people that strum a guitar and record it and sing and produce their records in the studio, what proportion of those people don't even do that and they just record on their phone and are at least articulate in creating some type of music? What percentage of those actually have a product that the majority of people would buy? And it's an unfortunate, probably 10%. And I think, there is this kind of hyped up message in the music industry at the moment that, and I agree with it, 75% of your success will be down to marketing. But that other 25%, how strong is it? That 25% that you have within your music, in some individuals' case, the focus of their attention shouldn't be 75% marketing. It should be 100% music. And whether it's getting into the music industry because you think it's cool and your friends did it and you want to get a bit of fame, you don't have your heart isn't in the right place for it. And if you got into music because your friends encouraged you, brilliant. And they're I think it was Pop Smoke. He wasn't even meant to be a rapper, but he was a huge success. And he's done incredible things. And rest in peace. If he was still alive today, would he still be making music? 20, 30, 40 years into the future, did his passion really lie in the music, or, was it in sports? And I believe it was basketball that he originally started in. I don't know. One thing that we do know is he had incredible music. He probably had great producers around him, great team, people that gave him great feedback. I think, that's what musicians need. They need a great product in the first place. I think it's first of all, can you tell a great story through your songs? Can you portray it through good voice, good vocals? And what type of production are you using? Is the production up to date? Is it relevant? Those are really just some simple, basic fundamentals. I think those are the things that we really look for. And, it's of the utmost importance. There's no way that marketing can fix a bad product. I think, Jacob, just to, cap this answer off, I think one of the best things that people can do, regardless of whether we're looking for it or not, is to consistently ask for feedback with each song that you get. And if you are sending it to friends and family and they're telling you, yeah, it's great, like this is really, really good, then you're doing yourself a huge disservice. And you're also creating a self-inflated ego that, isn't based on anything real. You need to DM people like me. People need to DM you. Like, you're dealing with so many different, musicians, that you get a taste of what works and what doesn't based on the success of that artist. The numbers speak volumes. So get some good feedback, be consistent with it. Yes, marketing matters, but if your marketing isn't providing you any results, then it's probably to do with a product that nobody wants. Those are some of the things that I would mention for sure.
Awesome. So Sinclair Media Group has had several success stories, and I would like to talk about some of them.
Sure.
Let's start off with A Certain Energy. He is a verified artist on Spotify. Roland, as of this recording, has over 337,000 streams, and he has over 3.5 thousand Instagram followers. So how did this partnership turn out?
Yeah, for sure. So A Certain Energy is a great example of an independent artist that has broken out, created some noise for themselves, and has been very consistent in their ability to keep that success going. Some of the data that you wouldn't have seen, but we see on the back end, is that on Spotify alone, he has over 250,000 listeners. That's hugely powerful. Collaborating with Code to the Friend, for example, and on Rolling, Double XL, the Source magazine. He's had some great successes, and I've been working with him since 2018 as a producer back, with DSP Beats when that got started. And we made a few records together. They're currently out. The last two records, well, not the last two, but the two that he released in 2021, Fake Love and Foreign, I produced. And they've done really, really well. He's got picked up by Eminem Shade 45 for an interview. And it just started off, as a great working relationship as a producer, somebody that I would regard as a good friend. And it's just naturally manifested into what it has today. And we've definitely got some exciting things coming for him in the future. He just recently signed some deals with Foundation Media in New York City, Soul Music Publishing. I think the special thing about him is that he combines, the great elements of classic old school hip hop. So great lyricism, great themes, great storytelling, with modern production. What's also quite cool about him on the topic of story is that he has a very consistent story, and sometimes, and this isn't a bad thing, it's just he's very open about, some of those darker times as well, mental health issues, alcoholism, etc. I think that's a great example of an artist, is being able to be very clear about what you stand for, what your story is, and what your values are.
I totally agree. I cannot wait to hear more from him in the future. Let's start with Boy Nash. Another Spotify verified artist, 51,000 monthly listeners and 4,000 Instagram followers as this recording. Yeah. So what made Boy Nash so special?
Yeah, I think, Boy Nash, I met him back in 2021, February. And at the time, he already did some, the thing about UK artists is, and the UK hip hop scene, it's wildly different niche, very separate from the US music industry. And the only times that really the US and the UK have collaborated well within at least the rap niche, rap genre, is, when you have like a Skepta and a Drake, is when you have, and that's pretty much it. Like, I can't think of any other large records. And even that, like, the Skepta record that, on Drake's 2017 album, like, it wasn't the most successful record. That's no shade on the record. It was one of my favorite from the album. It's more to say that the sounds are very different. I think there's a different ear and a different taste that the US has towards UK rap. And of course, there are people in the US that love grime. But traditionally what you'll find, if you just walk down the street here in the UK, the main thing that you'll hear is US rap. And that's because the US has, the main dominant share of big artists. I look forward to the day where, the UK, and as it has done in the past 4 to 5 years, really starts to spring up to the top. Dave is a great example of this. Santan Dave, incredible artist. Let's bring it back to Boy Nash because I digress again. I met him, February of 2021. Had some good successes himself. GRM Daily, which is kind of like the equivalent of World Star Hip Hop over here. Tens of thousands of views, thousands of streams, and he was building up this really, core, great fan base. The things that really popped off for him is when he started collaborating with DJ Semtex. And, DJ Semtex is arguably the most respected, built all of his groundwork, has a real passion for the hip hop industry as a whole in the UK. Interviewed Jay-Z, interviewed Kanye West, and those two linked up. It's a huge collaboration, and seemingly they have a great relationship as well, which is great to see, and it's really founded DJ Semtex. I think their relationship has been founded off a love for great lyricism and great storytelling. We did a couple of YouTube, we did a YouTube campaign for him. We did some playlisting for him on Spotify, and we have a great relationship. Haven't spoken to him in a short while, but I did it probably about a couple months ago or so, just very briefly. It started off on some good digital campaigns online, but he's been doing some incredible things recently, doing some shows over here as well. And definitely on a good track record to success. Obviously, recently with his Fire in the Booth as well, with Charlie Sloth. So he's a great guy.
That's good. Now, this is a very interesting one, and I'm sorry if I butcher his name again, but Michelle Young.
You got it right. No, you got it right. Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness. Now, this is a former Warner Brothers Music Group signee. Yeah. And I doing my research on him, 102,000 views on his YouTube channel. And I'm like thinking, that's incredible that you were able to grab something that was already an artist that was established was a signing by Warner Brothers, but then that record deal discard him, and now you picked him up.
Yeah, no, for sure. So he was signed to a label called, I think they were XWG or 5 to the Floor Music Group. So they're an imprint of Warner. I think they're based over in Ireland, and I wasn't too sure. I'm not too sure exactly what the deal was that they did with them, but I'm pretty sure what it was is it was either being managed under a manager or an A&R there, or he had I think it was a distribution deal. So being played across, radio in Scotland, England, UK, Germany, US, on consistent spins. And an artist that I have a huge, deep passion for the music that he creates. Not joking, every single day that I go to the gym, come over, one of his most played tracks, but also on his other pseudonames, the 80s Kid. He's got some incredible talent. And the thing that really stood out to me about him is just like the way that the music makes you feel. You either have it or you don't, basically. Like if you listen to a Michael Jackson record, you have it. Like there's groove, there's lyricism, there's an element of theater and excitement. And that's really what Michelle or James, his real name, really brings to the table. We did some projects with him under his pseudonym, the 80s Kid, on a song called Roots, which is an incredible record. More recently, he's started another pseudonym called Vasor, which is basically, he's from Sweden, so he's doing specifically Swedish music there. But yeah, somebody that I admire the records of. I wish the utmost of continued future success. To answer your question, we met back in 2021 in January. ran the campaign for him on Roots. And ever since then have just been just continuing to work together.
Awesome. The final one I want to talk to you about is Steve Mariangeli.
Yes.
4,500 Instagram followers, and his song "Sacrifice" has been streamed on Spotify 149,000 times, and his other single "It's You" 129,000 times on Spotify.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if I remember that the album that he released in 2021 has done over 250,000 streams just on Spotify. And Steve is an interesting one. We ran a PR campaign for him in May of 2021. And the title that we went with for the PR campaign was, if DJ Khaled was born in Luxembourg, his name would be Steve Mariangeli. And the reason that we decided, and it got picked up on Twitter and people were laughing about it. But the reason that we went with that is what Steve brings to the table, much like a DJ Khaled, is that he isn't the singer and he isn't the producer per se. I mean, DJ Khaled does a little bit of producing, but he kind of orchestrates and brings the thing together. He's a songwriter. He'll write the songs, pass it to an artist that he likes, find a producer that he likes, and they create these great projects. And since working with him, I mean, it was just kind of mind-boggling to see some of the stuff that he did. Obviously, the biggest piece of PR was on RTL television, which is Luxembourg or Europe's largest radio and TV, company, as measured by viewers. I think it's RTL Teleberg or something like that. And he was on TV, like in crazy shit. Like there's our guy, we can see him there. On radio as well. He collaborated with Anna B for the song that we marketed for him. Another great success story with him, running another campaign. We did bits of PR, playlisting on Spotify, a little bit of Facebook ads, continuing to work together. Signed a publishing deal as well in 2021, I believe. Another great success story.
That's amazing. So on December 9th, 2021, you uploaded a major interview that I didn't even see coming with entrepreneur Grant Cardone. How long did it take you to convince the real estate mogul to sit down with you? And what were some of the major lessons that you learned from Grant that you incorporated into your career?
Yeah, I found out about Grant in 2017 when I was 17 on an interview that he did with Lewis Howes. And I said this on the interview that I did with Grant. I think I did anyway, that just like there were so many things that he mentioned in a short period of time that, when something just resonates with you and that there needs to be no explanation for why, but it just hits you at your core. And it's very rare that happens. It usually happens early on in life because, as you grow up, you kind of get used to the same concepts and the same ideas, somebody mentions a book to you and you can probably kind of, tell them exactly how that book is read, based on the fact that you've already read one like it. And you can kind of get, I found this quite, recently, a little bit stubborn, basically, in one's mindset. And everything that he said in that interview with Lewis Howes just resonated with me. I'm not sure what it was, whether it was we grew up in a similar fashion, similar style of family, similar temperaments and similar styles of humor, just resonated with me. And I've followed him ever since. And, the huge growth that I had in 2018, especially, and, throughout all of the successes, I don't know if I would be doing what I'm doing now, at least in the way that I'm doing it and with the mindset that I have. If it weren't for Grant, I probably wouldn't. I'd probably still be in, my mum's basement making records. When we did this interview in 2019, it was recorded in 2019 in April, so close to 3 years ago. I DM'd him off of my DSB Beats account. I had 25K on Instagram, so it didn't, it wasn't looking like I was, just some random guy. Like I've, built up a fan base here. Said, hey Grant, I already had a little bit of conversation with him before, but his DMs are relatively open, so he wouldn't have remembered me. Hey Grant, my name's David here from London. Just wanted to DM you and see, if you'd be down for this podcast. And I got back this message and it was like, hey, send a request to my assistant. So I sent through this email, and about a day later, I remember getting the email back and opening it. It was like, "Dear Mr. Sinclair-Black, Grant would like to do an interview with you. Are you available next week on Tuesday?" I was so ecstatic. First thing that I did was rang my mum. I'm pretty sure I then uploaded something to Instagram. But for me to be able to sit down with my business mentor, idol, and person that I've been following for so long on social media, it was just crazy. So instantly got on the phone with my mum, instantly booked some flights to Miami because I was not going to do this thing over Zoom. And this was, I think the interview itself was on a Tuesday, and I probably would have got it accepted maybe on the Wednesday. So I think I flew out on the Saturday, came back on the Tuesday, went there. This was my second time in Miami, second time in America. Got there, stayed in a hotel, spent a couple of days in and around Miami, and got a little bit sunburnt as well on the actual interview itself. You can see I'm particularly red, and Grant commented on that. And Jacob, it was a crazy story because about half an hour before the interview, oh my God, I got this interview from this email from his assistant. It says, "Dear Mr. Sinclair-Black, unfortunately, Grant's schedule has changed. And instead of it being half an hour, you're going to have to do it for 20 minutes. And also on top of that, you're going to have to do it on Zoom." I was like, no way. I've just flown out, 13 hours each way to Miami, spent X amount of money. I'm getting hyped and excited. I'm about to get in the Uber. And sorry, you can't do it. I thought, oh God, okay, it'll be fine. I'll just do it through Zoom. And I was like, no, I'm going to take some of Grant's own advice. I'm going to follow up. I'm going to get my way with this. I sent back an email. I was like, "Dear so-and-so, I'm sorry, but I've just flown 13 hours from London to do the interview. There is absolutely no way that this is good or acceptable. Is there any way that I can come? I promise I'll only be 20 minutes. Please let me come because I've flown all this way." She came back. She was like, "Yeah, that's fine." So, kind of the story lies in that when something isn't, the way that you want it, at least follow up. I think some of my friends and family and also my clients can probably testament to the fact that I follow up too much, which is a good thing. I'd rather follow up too much than too little. Got in the Uber, got to the iconic Cardone Enterprises office that I'd seen all over YouTube. I stepped in, met the security guard who was very friendly. The receptionist walked through, saw all the offices that I'd seen on YouTube, walked into their studio, this studio that I've watched podcasts from for years. I was like, damn, okay, this is crazy. I met Johnny, the camera guy, who's his creative guy, sat down and was told that Grant would be in a minute. And then he kind of came in with his entourage. He's about 2 inches shorter than me. I thought he was going to be taller. It's this crazy thing where you meet like celebrities in real life and then just like he was shorter. But anyway, shook his hand, very, very confident guy. And I thought I was going to be, crapping my pants, but the energy was there. I was, kind of my heart was going a bit, but it was like an excited energy. Sat down. Guy to my right is, this idol that I've been following for years. And the great thing about him is that he's exactly the same in person as he is online. And I think that that's something that I've been very grateful perhaps to take away from him. Whether I'm like this anyway or not, or because I watch him, I definitely think it's because of some of his content, is that for better or worse, you're either going to love me or hate me as much as an Instagram message, as much as you are in person. So that was great. 20 minutes. I didn't even left straight away, super, super happy. Got the video the next day, came back to London. My sunburn turned into a tan, rode around some bikes in London with my friends talking about it. Got the interview back, watched it with them for the first time. With Callum, who was also very, aware of my adornment for Grant. And then we watched it and it was just crazy for me to see me next to him. And all of my friends knew that I've been watching him for years. So it was great. It was great. And I definitely look forward to more collaborations like that in the future for sure.
That's amazing. That is amazing. First of all, kudos to you, because I got to say, that would have really paid that kind of money to go from London to Miami and then just like to and then finally find your way into Cardone Enterprises, be able to sit two-way from Grant. I got to say, kudos. That takes a lot of guts.
Yeah.
And dealing with assistants and everything.
Yeah, no, for sure. And look, like whatever it takes, you got to do whatever it takes. I'd rather fall over forwards than fall over backwards. And that's one thing that I've definitely learned from him, is that, you know, if you're gonna, if the sink's shipping anyway, then you may as well have some fun while you're drowning. And like, you know, DSB Beats didn't work out in the end. That's why I shut it down. But you know, I picked it up. I'm so glad that I still have the video for it. And you know, yeah, like, could I have done it through Zoom? Yes, but I had to meet the guy in person. I knew that I would make a good impression. And it, you know, if that's of a lesson to any musicians in here, or anybody that's listening, you know, that's running their own thing, doing their own thing, you know, maybe, you know, head of your family, and you're keeping the family going, you know, being a better partner to your spouse, or just to your friends, is in everything that you do. I guess, you know, to take away from that interview, like, be authentically yourself, you know, be the same person that you are in person as you are offline, fall forwards, you know, don't escape from a situation being in fear of the failure, fall into it with full embrace that it could go wrong, but that's fine. And yeah, like, take the risk. Like, I had to take that risk. I'm so glad that I did it. And you know, definitely wouldn't have had it otherwise, because then, like, people watch the interview and it's not me with Grant, it's me with Grant on a camera, and it's not as good. So yeah, no, thank you.
All right, we got to start winding down our conversation. So where do you see Sinclair Media Group going as 2022 advances?
Well, to be honest with you, Jacob, I have no clue. And maybe I'm doing a disservice to myself not having that clarity at the moment. For one thing that I do know is I have crystal clear clarity of where I want the company to be in 10 years. And that's 2 million monthly musicians with us. And that's 100% of them being full-time in music. And as a result of that, and you know, if they're full-time doing 2K a month, then that's 48 billion pounds put into the economy. As a business as well, we'd be doing super, super well. And it's my goal that we can, you know, reimburse that money, not only into the music industry to uplift people, you know, to give them the help they needed, but into other areas as well, you know, into different charities, etc. And, you know, hopefully I can justify why I have no clue where I want my business to be in a year, but that's because I have an idea of where it needs to go, but I'm still figuring out the things that we need to do on a daily basis to get it there. And I mentioned at the beginning of this interview that, you know, we're trying out so many different things. Like, the product as it looks today is 50 times different and has 100 different variations to what it looked like, you know, back in November. And I guess you can kind of liken this to, you know, Tesla or Ford or Aston Martin announces that they're going to release a new car in 2024 or 2026. And the reason that is that, you know, they're sinking loads of money, time, and energy into the R&D, the research and the development costs. It doesn't mean to say that we're making a loss and that we're really struggling. We're, you know, being particularly stable, but there are so many things that need to be improved about the product. And until I have full founded confidence, case studies out of my ears, then I can say, okay, like, let's set these targets. Here's how many people we're going to bring on this month. Here's how we're going to do this. One thing that I can tell you is that I guess by the end of this year, we're going to be with full-headed clarity of what we need to do. Probably full-headed clarity. I guess the answer to your question is really a fully formulated product and service, or consulting service for artists, showing them how to build, you know, this full-time career. And definitely a lot better than where we are right now, hopefully. unless I've really messed things up, but that's the likelihood of that is nil.
All righty, David. So David, where can they connect with you on social media, and where can they find more information?
For sure. Instagram is at David Sinclair-Black 1. If you want to visit our website, it is, I'm going to get move out of the way there. So there we go. Sinclair Media .group. So full stop and then GROUP. You can visit our website. We've got a free training out for artists. It's completely free, complimentary, and we'll show you the step-by-step process to generate a full-time career for yourself in music. I'm on Facebook, but don't really use it. And YouTube. YouTube is a great platform that I've been using. You can just Google search David Sinclair-Black and I'll come up on YouTube. And yeah, those are the best places.
Wonderful. So, guys, if you miss an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast, hold on a second. Oh boy. If you miss an episode of the Jake's Take, there it is. There it is. Technology. If you missed an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast, visit our Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Spotify, and Spreaker channels. Just type in Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR, Are you on social media? Are you on? Oh, there we go. Where'd it go? There it is. Technology. Are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Visit my channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. It's Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. So, David, get this. August 2022 marks my 11th year doing jakes-take.com.
No way. Really? Wow. Jesus. That's crazy. I love it.
It is. If you want to see some of the art, I've interviewed David's artists, and I've also reviewed their work as well. So if you want to see those interviews, if you want to see those reviews and my takes on what's going on with America's Got Talent, The Masked Singer, head to jakes-take.com. Once again, jakes-take.com. Now, guys, if you're financially able to, please consider heading to please consider heading to PayPal to help keep jakes-take.com and my platform up and running. I'm the one that does everything. I'm a one-man band, so I would love to have your support. If you're financially able to, please, thank you so much. If you're unable to, I totally understand, but a good subscription to the podcast and good following on social media would be great. David, it is such an honor and privilege to talk with you and to see each other face to face after all these years.
No, thank you, Jacob. Really appreciate it. And thank you for having me.
You're so welcome, guys. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to listen to this or to watch this. And until next time, thank you, everybody. Bye.